I call Porter Williams.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I'm very pleased to take a call on the young children, young persons and their families advocacy workforce and age settings amendment bill. Mr Chairman, I do want to acknowledge the work that the Minister has done in her time as Minister, and that I'm aware that the Minister is wanting to make some changes to support our most vulnerable citizens, and I do commend her for that work. What I want to point to in this bill, Mr Chairman, is that I do believe that there are some bigger principles and some wider policy discussion that needs to go in place, because I believe that this is one of a suite of changes that the Minister is wanting to make, and that it's evident that some of those changes will impact the way that this particular piece of legislation will operate when it becomes an act and actually is enacted into child, youth and family. And why I say that, Mr Chairman, is because of some of the submitters, the comments that the submitters made at Select Committee. And there were several submitters, such as the New Zealand Council of Christian Social Services, the Nurses Organisation, the PSA, and they had a similar theme, Mr Chair. Their theme was that, that despite the fact that they were concerned that the legislators were being asked to support radical reform to the core functions of the state before any detailed design, including impact analysis and stakeholder consultation, was undertaken. But also there's a comment by the PSA to say that members were dubious about agreeing broadly to these preliminary proposals without knowing how they might impact on advocating for vulnerable children in the future. The submitters were giving us a sense, Mr Chairman, that there is a broader plan in place, that this is one aspect of that broader plan, and without actually knowing the aspects of what the government has in mind, it is difficult for us to be supporting some of these proposals. And one of the most significant proposals in here, which Jacinda Ardern spoke to, which relate to Clause 7 and the details which are in Schedule 2 of Clause 10, relate to the ability for the Chief Executive to delegate responsibility. Now, the example that's been quoted by other members in the House has been about the responsibility with regards to the uplift of children. And that is a significant issue. It's a significant issue for Māori and Pacific families, and it causes an awful lot of distress. My concern in this regard is that we have not been given fulsome details about who might be the responsible agencies that may then take up the role of caring for our vulnerable children should they be uplifted. Because I believe that part of that discussion has yet to be decided, and that is part of a wider, broader policy debate that is currently happening within the ministry. I would really recommend that we actually get a sense of what's going to happen before we actually decide the mechanism with which we're going to allow that to happen. I understand that there are some principles and some clauses within this piece of legislation which sit outside of that framework. But in this regard, which is the most significant, the uplift of children is a hugely distressing and disruptive thing to happen within a family, and many families do not recover from that. It takes many, many years, sometimes generations, to recover from that if they're not done well. And in this regard, I would want us to give full consideration to the mechanisms of that and who is actually going to provide that support. And I do want to pick up on the discussion of the previous speaker about accountability, because not only does the responsibility of that particular act needs some further discussion, but how we are going to ensure accountability back to the ministry in that regard. Mr Chairman, it is a significant part of the legislation, and one that we need to give considerable discussion to. Thank you.